Hello and welcome everyone. This is Blackadder at Blackadder's Place, and today I'm going to be starting with streaming Age of Empires on my personal channel just outside RTS League as well. And the first recorded games that I'm going to be streaming, I'm of course hoping to be streaming some live games as well, are going to be from the CZ LAN that has taken place last December, so about 2 months ago already. And there was an X-Patch tournament happening, a 2v2 tournament, and as you can see, we are going to be seeing a bunch of CZ clan players, so definitely a pretty high quality. If you are looking at the top, you are going to be seeing a bit different names in there, and that's because the LAN was kind of a reminder of the olden times where actually there was a big clan, Bohemia Crusaders. Maybe some of you actually know it still, because that was a pretty big clan back then and also quite known in the community, and it housed a whole lot of good players, and one of those was also Skull, as you can see in here, and that's probably the player that you would know the most out of all of these, as he is literally the best in here, about 2k, and in team games even better than that. His teammate is going to be Yezris, and they are forming the BC newschool, as even though they really did play back then as well, they are kind of considered younger, or rather considered they are younger, and they are quite prominent in today's games. Yezris is about 1850, so 1850 2K team, pretty strong from them. And the old school, these are guys that were playing mainly back then, not really all that active right now. And the current rating of ZooidBerg is about 1750, if I remember correctly. 1700, 1750, something like that. And Haros is currently about 1650, something like that. But he doesn't have really all that much practice, and he is playing basically just because of the LAN tournament. But still, that doesn't mean he isn't a good player, because he has also played other games in the meantime. I like, for example, Age of Mythology and maybe even Age of Empires 3, but I'm not all that positive about it. I know I've played with him in the Nex, in Nublex, my clan, in Age of Mythology. He was a pretty good player and he played for us in RTS League and such, so yep, he definitely has the skill and knows what it means to play in a team game and Age of Empires. Otherwise, looking at the civilizations, this seems like a team random, and yes, if I remember correctly, that definitely were the settings. And as for the maps, they are home maps in here, and well, these are the semifinals, because there were about 2 rounds, the semifinals and then finals for time reasons and such, and because it was obviously 2v2, so that was like 8 players already engaged, which is most of who was actually on the LAN, or most, yeah, probably most that were actually sticking for a longer time. There were players that actually came for a few hours, then left and such, because obviously a lot of them are 30 plus, so they have engagement and such. But these guys definitely stuck with us, and we have been honored to see them play for the X-Patch tournament. The X-Patch itself, you probably have heard about it in the community, is a pretty nice attempt to change the game to the better and make it in a way that it's actually not changing the game altogether, like for example the balance patch from Carlos Ferdinand does, but this takes basically just the most glaring things that are the problem in the community and in the game itself and try to address them one by one, not to really change the game all that much, so that you actually can still quite nicely recognize the gameplay and are not surprised by anything else. You can find more information about it at aoc-balance.com. That's a very nice web for it with all the changelogs and such. But well, I guess you can just as well start with the game itself in here on our hands. And we are going to be seeing Vikings with Byzantines on Arabia, which are definitely quite unusual civilizations, of course. Vikings on Arabia, well, that could be definitely something a bit new for all of us. So we are starting looking at Skull in here. Of course, dropping right the house, and we are going to be quite interested in somebody is going to be attempting to steer. You can see that Skull just now discovering he's right next to the wall. He has probably seen it from the minimap anyway. Lucky with the sheep right there. And he has already discovered the board as well. So he's in a pretty good position right about now to go for a bit of an attempt at potentially even stealing on his opponent. I'm going to try the Fog of War to have a look at what he's actually going to discover and who is his opponent. His opponent is going to be Haros. So Haros is probably not going to be all that happy to learn that he is against the best player in here. And I'm going to also try to actually translate what has been said in the team chat, because that's all going to be in Czech as we are on CZ LAN. So of course everybody's speaking in Czech. And sometimes, if I remember correctly, there were some pretty funny conversations. So yep, we are definitely having something to look forward to. Bit of scouting with the sheep, of course, for Haros. So let's switch the point of view into his to have a look what he sees, and he should definitely be sending the scout around, which he seems to be exactly doing as he is discovering the base in here. And yep, he should be gathering those sheep before they are stolen by the opponent. But still, I'm quite curious if actually Skull is going to be attempting to steal it. So far he seems to be slowly aiming there, but is there some board to steal? Oh, well, not exactly sure, because they are in one spot and not really all that far away from the TC, but at the same time it's a placement where Haros probably won't be having any villages or line of sight and such, so he might just as well miss that. So I'm not exactly sure if that wouldn't be a nice idea for Skull to do, but so far he's quite content in scouting right next to his own base and probably aiming for the boars of himself. Having pretty nice deer, potentially to push them, so far not really happening. And we are going to be looking, for example, at his teammate Yezris, who is having the boar at the back and the second one as well, together with the relic, pretty nice spawn for him. And looking at the gold and stone, not really any kind of problems, but we are seeing quite interesting lumber camp, to be honest, and that could be because of his point of view and scouting. He probably didn't see the line at the back, which would definitely be a bit more favorable for him, and this is kind of not good, because not only is this pretty small forest, so of course pretty big problems very soon, it's wide open into the front, and there's absolutely no way to actually wall this up, so he's going to be forced of this position pretty soon, I will be expecting, by ZooidBerg. You may also know him under the nickname Toom. Was playing under that nickname under the Bohemia Crusaders back then. And well, that's the first boar under, and going already for the berries, as where is actually the hunt on the left, which he knows about, but he doesn't really want to go for it. He wants the closer food source in here so that he has a bit more optimal advance into the feudal. Well, that's going to be what he does then. The last player to have a look at is going to be Toom, aka ZooidBerg, having an okayish base, or in the forefront could be potentially in danger, as Yezris is already arriving in there. Let's have a look. He knows, or rather if he notices. Ooh, that was close. A bit lucky in here, ZooidBerg. I'm going to switch. If he actually knows about it. Oh, he doesn't. Oh my, he might have actually missed it. I'm not exactly sure if he did, because he probably did, because he's still with the scout right next in his own base. So he probably is still looking for the second boar, as he's going to be finishing with the first one. Just about now, quite lucky to have the sheep in there and the berries, and he's definitely going to be hoping that right now he goes to the darkness, and oh yes, oh yeah, right now he knows where the boar is, so he's gonna just now clicking it in with the scout, or is he? Probably not. It's like not that he's just gonna use one of the villages in here to go for the boar, and he seems to be aiming for the opponent, and this is yet again going to be another risk for Yezris, or rather from Yezris. He's going to be also looking for it, and he does. Does he? Does he? Oh, he doesn't. He just literally missed it. Oh, that's going to be a bit of a fight. And he didn't actually catch the boar. Well, that's a pretty big problem right now. If Yezris notices this, apparently he didn't. And I'm not exactly sure why ZooidBerg isn't actually continuing with it. He probably hoped that it's going to be catching by just one hit, but apparently, or rather apparently not, because obviously you need 2 hits. He's going to go back right now, so that wasn't really ideal for him. And you can see that blue is right now scouting right next to a red opponent and seeing that he's quite well off, not really having any kind of problems. You can see that on the score though, Skull is quite better off. It's going to be Byzantines versus Byzantines and Vikings against Vikings. So pretty nice gameplay for us to see, a proper mirror, and well, definitely Skull is going to be seeing exactly what's going to happen. And we also hear that Yezris is already dropping barracks somewhere in his home base, going for the militia, so that's going to be Drash. And is there going to be something similar going on from Skull? So far doesn't seem so. As from Byzantines, that's not really something we would expect all that much, and we'll be probably hoping to boom a bit into, I don't know, maybe faster castle, some such. will be seen pretty soon. Scouting going on in ZooidBerg's base still as well, as we are going to be slowly aiming for feudal ages from both of these teams. Looking at the gold and stone placement, a lot of gold mines right about now in here for ZooidBerg, even though these mines are pretty open, but it shouldn't be all that hard for him to wall about from here to here. And it's not really all that tough. It'll be quite easy wall, but what's a bit of a more problem is this part, because it's wide open and it will cost him a whole lot of wood to actually cover, and since the X-Patch, it's actually making building walls, both palisades and stone walls, a bit longer, a few seconds longer. Those big walls would be very hard for him to finish before he's been raided by his opponent, and especially since the rush is going to be coming in pretty soon. And oh, oh, Skull is going for it. He's actually going to somehow dash his opponent as well, but in a much different situation than what ZooidBerg is doing. ZooidBerg is much more conventional, unfortunately having a bit of idles in there for a bit, but his ally Skull is doing this right on his opponent's doorstep. And it's looking like that Haros, even though he's attempting to build barracks himself, probably expecting that something like that is going to be happening in there as well. Oh, this is horrible. Let's switch. Haros. Haros is the one I wanted to actually have a look at. He doesn't know what's going to happen in here. And those guys are right now looking at archer range, as he was hoping for a bit of a house, for a bit of scouting, exactly expecting that some nonsenses are happening. And are we going to see Willy fight? Well, apparently yeah, but that's not really working so far, as you can see that Spearman is already up. And, well, the feudal age in here, and it's unfortunately looking like that actually the stream overlay is not really working for us. That's a bit of a shame. It's not really picking up anything, so we are going to be seeing just villager highs and such, but it doesn't really matter all that much, as we are expecting, or rather seeing the expected, and even the unexpected from Skull, who is just camped on outskirts of his opponent's base and doing a pretty big damage on him. Towers coming up, both defensive and offensive. Skull is definitely trying to deny even the wood line and the gold, and well, of course, this is a pretty big problem right now for Haros, as even though he is quite nicely ready, building skirmishes already to deny the potential archers and the skirmishes of his opponent, it's still going to be quite difficult for him to defend. Having a bit of look on the right side, you can see a lot of militias, into men-at-arms. For Yezris, so ZooidBerg is in for a bit of a surprise. It's just this normal dash or something. And looking at this could be a pretty bad slaughter right now for ZooidBerg, because obviously those dudes are going to be a whole lot stronger, already confirming it with killing the scout very easily. And even though Haros is right about now a house, these probably not going to matter all that much, as he is maybe hoping, looking at the resources, not really enough food, not really enough wood, that he can at least somehow build a palisade wall around the archer range, basically preventing any kind of archers and skirmishers from coming up. And so far he seems to be doing a pretty good job in the defense, but let's switch into Skull and have a look how many units he's actually haven't hidden in there. So far 2 skirmishers, not building anything in the barracks. So it seems like that the defense is doing pretty nicely for the BC old school. But on the right side, the old schools are not really doing all that well, as this could be dangerous. This could be quite dangerous, as ZooidBerg is finding the hunters, and oh my. Oh yeah, goodbye Willies probably. If he micros this properly though, because so far he doesn't seem to be doing so, because he probably had all of these guys clicked into one group and sent them after one villager. Definitely could have been done a lot more optimized, more optimally. But still, it doesn't really matter all that much, because all he wanted to achieve was basically stop the food gathering, and he exactly did that, which should mean that ZooidBerg is having pretty bad economy. Yeah, you can see that it's not really ideal for him at all. He is in feudal age, but he's probably hoping that he can jump into castle. Not exactly sure why, since he's Viking. I would be thinking that maybe building some archers into crossbowmen and arbalists would be something that the Viking could do on Arabia, but so far apparently not happening, and the tower with those 3 dudes seems to be pretty much the army that he needs for the defense. Even though probably not for long, as all those men-at-arms from ZooidBerg are still trickling in into the base. Here you see a bit of raiding by Haros, trying to respond in kind to his opponent's raiding, but of course this is not going to work for him all that much. Also, Loom is in place on Skull's villages, and well, he's going to just donate those 2 sheep. That wasn't exactly something that Haros definitely wanted. Well, those skirmishers from the archer range are right now out and going... Oh, I was thinking that actually it might be all of them, but no, they are just going for a bit of defense as Haros is going for the attack in here. But there are still enough skirmishers right on the doorstep of his home base, and he definitely needs to be careful because there is still a watchtower being built, and if the Skulls can spare some villagers and send them there, he could definitely be in a pretty good spot to finish it right about now, with all the army from the red player being in his base, and he's still having a pretty decent defense, especially right about now with plug in the hole exactly on the last moment. Last moment. Well, Yezris seems to be quite content just scouting around and not really doing all that much. You can see that the economy still from ZooidBerg is kind of in tatters. Really doing anything with all those villages, just migrating somewhere else. And looking at the village counts, it's not really all that bad. ZooidBerg is at 35, Haros 31, whereas Yezris and Skull are at 35, 38. Oh, this is pretty nice. Oh, come on. Come on. Yes, exactly. This is what I wanted to suggest, that you should be splitting the guys so that nobody is actually able to escape anywhere. And looking how there is absolutely no defense from ZooidBerg, as he's quite desperately trying to advance through Castle Age. You can see almost 700 foot. He is hoping that he can survive long enough for the castle to come into play, and then probably some knights, maybe. Yeah, that could be something for him to use, but I would definitely like a whole lot of archers against all those men-at-arms that are still coming in. Still coming in pretty big numbers. On the left, Skull is doing a pretty good job, and fortunately even the nature is helping him in the defense, unfortunately for Haros, of course. As in here, it seems like that it's basically controlled right about now by Haros, switching into Scout Cavalry for the Byzantines, but I don't really think that he's going to be all that happy, as Skull will probably be attempting to advance sometime soon into the next age. He's having quite old villages still queued in, but he's having quite enough food and pretty strong economy right about now, if it wasn't for the idols in there, and I think he's quite ready to actually stop producing army and just go for it into the next age and then basically steamroll his opponent, because Haros is probably going to be having his economy all over the place. You can see just 55 food, and that's definitely not a state in which you could advance it to the next age. Another archer range, as he's hiding skirmishers and scouts inside the military buildings, and well, this army is quite problematic for him. That's exactly why he's hiding, because Skull is doing a pretty good job, and the wolf as well. Going to be having the last bite. Oh yeah, he will. Catch up. Good job, nature. Good job indeed. Oh well. Haros seems to be doing so far reasonably okay, considering what's actually happening inside his base and outside of it. But he is kind of underestimated the walling, I would be thinking. He could be just finishing with at least palisade walls. He does have enough food, and that could be helping him quite a lot, but so far, not really. And it's looking like that Yezris is aiming in for a bit of a TC kill. Switching into ZooidBerg, if he's actually going into castle yet. So far not, as he's missing the second building for advancing. Right now finishing with archer range. Realizing the problem that he's having, and oh well, of course, that's not really ideal, as he is, even though he's having enough resources for potentially advancing, he is trying to go for archers, but that's way too late, and the men-at-arms are probably going to be costing him the TC, as even though the villagers are going for a bit of a militia right inside his home base and the town center to shoot at those guys, they are most probably not going to be strong enough, as the TC is halfway down, and the castle age is definitely going to take quite a long time to finish. Attempting to repair it, definitely good idea. Going to be costing quite a lot of extra damage. So far seems to be doing a pretty good job in the defense, dividing the attention of all those guys, and with all the TC fire right about now, Yezris is forced off, so pretty good job by ZooidBerg, and he might in the end even get into the castle age, so pretty nice job and well played. But looking at the strong economy by Yezris already, 45-46 for the new school, whereas BC old school are having 32 and 35, they are definitely going to be falling behind, And yeah, don't really expect that they would be having an easy time from now on, even though they are able to defend quite nicely. Those houses and still army trickling in. Definitely be using this extra scout, even though he's half that, it's still potentially extra 5 damage at least once. And against archers that could be happening quite nicely. And I'm going to have a look around. Somebody's going castle. Yes, there is not. He's just spamming as many unmanned arms as he can. Probably going to be attempting to have a go at the TC yet again. But Skull is advancing into castle age, halfway there. And Haros is not, and he doesn't have the resources at all. Just 200 food in here. So yep, that's definitely not a good news for him. And you would probably be expecting that Skull might be arriving the opponent's base with quite stronger army than what Haros is ready for. In the meantime, Yezris is forced back as finally the archers are coming into play from ZooidBerg as he's advancing just about now into castle age. Would be expecting that he will, right off the bat, to be attempting to make a crossbowman, but he needs the gold for that, which he unfortunately doesn't. He was quite nicely forced off that gold mine by all those men-at-arms, but he doesn't really need to do that all that much, because obviously there are no archers right next to the gold, so potentially he could just get the gold in there without any kind of problem. So yep, oh well, this wasn't ideal. And there's actually a way through. Oh man, well then that is a big problem. Especially with those idols in here. But still, this way through is a pretty big problem, and it's almost looking like that actually Yezris doesn't know about it, because if he knew about it, he would definitely send a whole lot of units in there, but he probably doesn't need to worry about it all that much, as this huge army of men-at-arms is quite probably gonna be taking care of absolutely everything in the base, no matter the archers from the grey player. In the red space, crossbowman already in from Skull as he's wrecking the tree line in here and going to be entering the gold line pretty soon as well, I would be expecting. As there's absolutely no defense, just this basically one tower. Should be some easy kills, if actually Skull pays enough attention, which he doesn't seem to be doing. Oh, he actually wanted to go under the tower, so that it isn't shooting at him, which was definitely a great idea, and it's working like a charm. And it means that from this position he should be having a quite nice line of view on this goal, which he definitely has, but he needs to be careful about all those skirmishes, as even though he's up the hill, those dudes are definitely having what they need, and that's exactly the health bonus right now coming for it, and the extra bonus against all those crossbowmen as the archers. But knights are joining in for the fun, and that's going to be yet another problem right now for Haros, as he isn't ready for that at all. As even that one knight, you can see, is absolutely wrecking all those skirmishes, as even though the crossbowmen are gonna die pretty soon as well, the skirmishes as well, and looking at the knights coming in with the stables being built right outside of space, well, that's pretty much it for that. And on the right side, ZooidBerg is getting hammered by a ton of men-at-arms by Yezris, and well, this time the DC is coming down for sure. And even though he's having a pretty nice amount of food, he doesn't have the other resources like the food, as it was being gathered right next to the TC. And this huge army of men-at-arms still being reinforced by even more of those. Oh well. This is quite a funny way to win a game in here, and I think I can basically say that right about now, because there shouldn't be all that much that ZooidBerg can be doing against this. You can see he's even losing the crossbowman, so the research did take place. Well, CC is not going to be standing for much longer. You can see GG's right now being called, and that is first coming from ZooidBerg, who is getting quite heavily raided by the knights, which he doesn't have any kind of answer for. As simple the spearmen are not good enough, and since he wasn't advancing even into the next age yet, he wasn't in any position to defend this, and his opponent, or rather his ally, well, he was pretty much dead, as this amount of men-at-arms was just a bit too strong for him overall. Yeah, 44 military population. 44 military population, and it's all in men-at-arms. You can see the 3 barracks, the whole lot of farms in here to support all that, and the gold of course, and the trickle of men-at-arms into opponent's base, making for 44 of those. Well, nicely played, and even though that's and rather BC old schools did all they could. Especially Haros played quite nicely, relying, of course, the 1600 rating that he's currently having. Well, Skull was just too strong for him in his 2K, and Yezris with his 1850 and his pretty unstoppable man-at-arms rush was pretty strong as well. So let's have a look at the post game. As we are going to be seeing that Skull is going to be the MVP. Well, he was of course playing nicely, but Yezris wasn't really far behind him. Largest army of course for Yezris. Unit skill for Skull, he was doing a pretty good job in there. And well, you can see that Haros actually did have pretty strong army overall, but unfortunately at the wrong places and at the wrong times. So Skull was able to out-micro him and win the battles. That counted in there. Economy pretty strong from Skull and Yezris as well. And the advances into the next age, you can see Skull pretty decent, 1002. And Haros was just a whole minute later than him. Well then, GG. Oh,